Hello everybody, it's Claire back with another art journal video, and in this one I'm doing some gesso resist and playing with some distress inks. So I'm using this stencil from Dina Wakley and it's called Variegated Stars, and I've just got some gesso out onto my glass mat, and with a sponge I'm just popping some through the stencil. So then when this dries, this acts as a resist. So I'm working in the small white journal from Dina Wakley, and I haven't put any clear gesso or white gesso on this page before doing this, so this is why it will work quite well. So I'm just going to add, I'm just working on one page as well for this spread, so I'm just adding some stars onto this one page and then give it a quick dry, and then I can start adding some distress inks onto the page as well. So the first colour that I'm using is Ripe Persimmon. Never know how to say that. Don't like that word. Trips me up every time. So just popped a bit onto the little mat that comes with the glass mat, a little spritz of water, and then I am just dabbing the page into it just to pick some of that up on the page. And then I did use a bit that was left over onto another tag, just because I didn't really want to waste the pigment that was left on the mat, so just to use that up. And then that gets a little spritz of water just to help that pigment move around a little bit as well. And then it was time to sort of decide what to do with the pigment that was on the page. So I've just given it a little spritz of water and just allowing that to move around a little bit, but decided it probably it was quite nice like that. I liked how dark it was in some places, so started to give it a bit of a dry. So as it was drying, I decided that it was a bit too concentrated, so I gave it another squirt of water. And you can see that in the places where the gesso is, it is already starting to work as a resist. So then I thought it might be easier just to start to layer the colours a bit more, so I just blotted up the excess and popped a bit more down and went back in again, doing the same process. One of the things that I really like about this technique is it's a little bit unpredictable, so you never quite know what effect you're going to get. It's very difficult to control how it looks, and so you have to kind of let go of any expectations you might have of what you want your page to be like, and just sort of go with it, really. So the next colour that I'm going in with is called Wild Honey. It's a really beautiful, really warm yellow. It's so nice. So doing the same process, just smooshing that on the mat, adding a little bit of water, and then turning my book, flipping it over and just kind of dipping the page into the pigment that's on the mat, and just letting go and not worrying about whether it's quite where I wanted it to be. So the Ripe Persimmon and the Wild Honey are so beautiful together. Look how lovely those colours are on there. So I'm just trying to collect a bit more, and then gave that a dry and used up the excess that was left over. This pink is called Picked Raspberry. Doing the same thing again. So I'm sticking with quite nice warm colours at the minute, because they'll play nicely together, and you know quite safe that they're not going to make a muddy brown on your page. So lastly, I'm just using Dusty Concord, which is a really pretty lilac-y pinky purple colour, almost like a mauve really. It's nice. Same thing again, popping some on the mat, spritzing it with water and just flipping the book over and dipping the page in. Actually, that's Seedless Preserve, I beg your pardon, not Dusty Concord. And that works really nicely with those other colours. So here I am trying to control where it goes a little bit to try and help the page feel balanced, but you can't always, and it doesn't really matter. And there, look, it smooshed so much on, it kind of spoilt that tag, but it doesn't, that doesn't matter either. That'll still work. So once it's dry, it does go a little bit lighter as well. That's one thing that I kind of noticed. And you can see how well the gesso is working as the resist, the stenciling that's coming through the distress ink. Here I'm just flicking a bit of water onto the page because obviously the distress inks are water reactive. So then I can lift a bit of the pigment off where the water has gone. And that's not easy to see on the video, but it did create some really nice pattern effects in the background. So this is one of the transparencies from Dina Wakley, from her figures and faces sets. I think this is from set 2. And here I'm just going to use this on the left hand side of the page. As I've said before, these transparencies are great for putting on pages where you don't want to hide your background, because you can still see it through, and you've still got that pattern and mark making happening with the interest that's on the transparency. So I'm just kind of cutting it down to size just so it's not too big, because I knew that I wanted to write some words on this page, so I knew that wouldn't be easy to do that where the transparency was. So just making it a little bit smaller so it'll pop on the page. And I love the way that the transparency creates that difference on the page as well, because you've got that kind of reflective quality going on with the shininess of the transparency. So I'm just using some of Dina's ultra thick gel medium to stick this in place. It's great because it doesn't make the transparency go cloudy when it's dry, it just disappears completely, but the transparency will stay where you put it. And it can take a little while to dry as well, so you have to be patient with that. So I am cheating a little bit and using some staples just to make sure this stays in place, because I was working on the page, it kept kind of moving around. So I know lots of people don't like using staples in their art journals, but it doesn't really bother me. So I did just pop a couple in place just to help it stay there. So this is my Dotty stamp that's part of my journal mark set from Funky Fossil. I think this is going to be released as an A7 stamp on its own soon, so hopefully that will be available. And then I am just adding in the whites of the eyes using a white gel pen. This is the Mantras stencil from Dina Wakley, and I'm just using a little bit of magenta and just adding a little bit of text onto the page as well in a couple of places, just to bring a little bit more pattern and layering onto that background page. And then I thought I was going to add some pink onto the lips, but I didn't like it, so just rubbed it away, because obviously you can. A little bit of pink on the cheeks as well, using a Posca pen. And then I'm starting to write my words on here. So then I'm just using a thinner Posca pen, and I'm just outlining those cheeks to make them feel like they're part of the transparency. And then I'm going to extend the image down to the bottom of the page, following the lines that are already there, and the same at the top of the page as well. Just so that that face is kind of grounded on that side of the page, and it kind of feels like it belongs there rather than just like an afterthought. And then once that was done, I'm then going to use another gel pen and just go in and add some more mark making on the page. So just some more circles and dots and little tiny crosses. Again, just adding to the layers of interest on the page. So this is a really fun technique to try. I'm sure if you've got distress inks, actually these are distress oxides, They are lots of fun to play with, and you can create some really, really fun patterns, and you get some really surprising results. It's definitely worth having a play with. Here's the finished page. You can see the gesso resist popping through, those distress oxides on the background, and those lovely warm colours work really well together. So thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you again soon.